All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my second devlog that I've ever made for one of my Steam games. If you remember way back in February of this year, I made my first devlog ever about my upcoming game, Lifesaver. Now, at that time, I was definitely planning on evolving Lifesaver a hell of a lot more before I thought about launching it, and I figured it would launch in the $5 to $10 range. But I just want to go ahead and talk about the last 9 months. Well, most of that time, Game Maker, the engine I've been using to develop this game, was kind of out of commission. They had a licensing problem that they were kind of ignoring for a while and failing to fix. And I honestly didn't think I'd ever be able to use uh, Game Maker again because when you loaded it up, you could work on your games and play the games and stuff like that from within the engine, but there was no way to export the game, so there was no way to actually update any of the projects you had. Super frustrating, and it looked like they weren't. It looked like they just didn't care enough, Yo-Yo Games, who makes Game Maker, to fix it. But I will say that after 5 or 6 months of continuing to pound them and get other live streamers to help bring the point up to Yo-Yo Games, they finally did fix the problem, and so now it's back in service. Thank God. So I've been working on Lifesaver a little bit the last couple of days, and I just decided to go ahead and launch the game early. Uh, Kind of like an early access, but I didn't want to go through the early access process on Steam because I remember it being really hellish endeavor way back in 2017 with my first game, A Rock and Roll. Like they were super picky about the early access write up and all the questions and stuff like that. So I really didn't want to deal with that, but I did put it on my Steam page that this is, just kind of a beta launch, and the price will go up, and more features and content will be added to Lifesaver in the coming weeks and months. So I kind of want to show you guys where I'm at here with devlog number 2 on Lifesaver. Really, what I've done here in this game is I added some functionality up here. There's going to be a voice, not voice, but volume control added here soon. I'm also going to add a leaderboard button, and your scores will be saved to the leaderboards that you can see within the game or on the Steam page for the game. Uh, and then I just kind of said this is an early version of the game. Expect bugs and many changes over time. Help shape Lifesaver with your feedback, ideas, and suggestions on the Steam forums for the game. So I added his little signature here. And when we come in, guys, I just want to kind of show you where I'm at. So I don't know if I had rain in the game last time I made the first devlog, but I added these people running around. I mean, it's the chaos of war, and they're running around. And if you're not careful, you got to be kind of careful where you shoot, and also that you don't blow up one of these enemies right in the face of a person running, right, a human running around here. So the pink ones are females, is the idea. The blue ones are guys. That was kind of my idea there. And they just shot me. There's a chest there in a random spot on every level right now that'll have more soul shards. And some of the enemies do drop soul shards, some don't. But your idea is you definitely want to get these soul shards because soul shards, at least right now, can help you pick up any dead survivors at the end of the level. And we just saw that Reagan Nelson down. So I did add more than like 220 first names for guys and 220 first names for guys, and I think there's like 75 last names as well. So it kind of picks a name randomly when each person is created and they run across the screen. So you're just kind of hoping they can get across the screen and to their homes or wherever they're going without getting killed. As we have one person, it tells you, oh, now we have 2 people dead. Brian Smith just went down. But you see, my health is really low. My game is quite challenging right now, so obviously one of the first things I'm going to be doing is adding some power-ups that you can build, and be able to craft some like power-ups, like things moving around you or automatic, fireballs that shoot from you, stuff like that. Maybe even a pet will be added that you can craft a robotic dog or something. But you have to pick up these survivors right now that have died. These people that have died. So once you come up and you use a soul shard, it will decrease your soul shard, but it'll also decrease your soul multiplier by 0.05. So basically, you start at 1 for a soul multiplier, and every soul shard that you possess increases your soul multiplier by 0.05. So the more soul shards you have, the higher your soul multiplier is. And what that is basically your score multiplier. So for example, if I had a soul multiplier of 2, when I shot enemies, I would be getting double the points for that. So anyway, once you pick up all the dying people that have gotten killed in the war, they run off, and then some doors open up, and you can either progress through the white door, which is basically takes you immediately to the next level, or you can go into the upgraded healing room, which is the green door, which is what I would advise. And you come here, and you see that I can buy some health for 8 soul shards, and I can buy some armor, which will give me a 5% boost to my armor and give me a 5% chance of blocking damage from any of the enemies on the screen. So I obviously can't afford both because that would be 18. So because my health is so low, I'm going to go over here and use my soul shards to purchase some health, and notice that my soul shards went way down, and so did my score multiplier, or my soul multiplier. This is a workbench that I actually crafted back last February. I actually did this myself. I also drew Superstar Dan himself and the doors and much of this, all the enemies that you fight were hand-drawn. But this is going to be a crafting system where you're going to be able to collect some different materials and be able to come and craft some of the stuff that I have planned, such as, power-ups that'll rotate around you as you play, and fireballs that might come out, or, maybe some mines that you'll be able to place around the screen and stuff like that, whatever. So I have a lot of things planned for that. And we're going to come back down, and we're going to advance to level 2 now. So also right now, I plan on keeping these people running around, and up these red balls are the worst right now. They're your deadliest enemy. The green ones aren't fun either because they leave the toxic trail of ooze, which can also hurt the people running around. But here soon, you're not going to be able to pick up these fallen people that have died in the war. You're not going to be able to simply use a soul shard to pick them up and heal them or resurrect them. So the idea with my game when I first came up with the idea was not that you'll be able to pick them up and save them. That was just kind of something I put in the game just to make it fun for right now until I fully develop the game. You gotta watch yourself as well, because if you get too close to these explosions, you will damage yourself, and I think that's... Muhammad died. Muhammad Harris. Poor Muhammad. So anyway, as soon as you kill all the enemies, all the soul shards around the screen will get sucked into you. And you remember, you can always open this chest here to get more soul shards. I'll probably have different chests around the screen of different colors, and different color chests will have different elements into them. And so this up here is some of my elements, or my components that I plan on adding to the game, such as copper, iron, and I think that's silicon. So this is going to be silicon, copper, and it's going to be copper, and that'll be iron. And you'll be able to use these to craft some of your power-ups, and you'll also be able to use these to craft hard drives. And with the hard drives, what you'll do, instead of coming up and picking these survivors up with a simple soul shard and resurrecting them, if you would, that's kind of silly. So what's going to end up happening here soon, guys, is you're not going to be able to pick these guys up. Every person that dies in your game is going to eventually just pile up. And you'll start seeing, as you come to different levels and stuff like that, you'll see piles of dead bodies. That's kind of my plan. So as you play the game longer and longer, you get to level 6, level 8, level 12, and stuff like that, there will be piles of these dead bodies. And eventually, if the pile of dead bodies is high enough, you won't be able to move through it. So it'll kind of be an obstacle. It's kind of my plan anyway. But I'll definitely make these dead bodies continue to pile up around the screen, so you'll kind of see all the casualties as you play. And then what you eventually want to do is get enough of these components, and maybe get maybe you'll also have to get a blueprint on how to craft these hard drives. So maybe it'll be level 5 or level 8 before you even get a blueprint and have the necessary components to build a hard drive. So then what you'll do is you'll be able to come up, and with a hard drive, maybe you'll be able to get, I haven't decided yet, but maybe you'll be able to store the DNA of one person on a hard drive, or maybe you'll be able to store like 5 people on one hard drive. I haven't decided yet. But you'll want to store the DNA of the dead survivors on a hard drive. And then the idea is after the war, if you win, and after the world rebuilds from this World War III and stuff like that, hopefully in the future they can use technology and the DNAs you've recorded for all the dead people to bring them back to life in a rebuilt new world. And that's kind of the idea, and that's why I call the game Lifesaver, because you're not essentially going to be picking these people up and resurrecting them and having them run off happily. No, they're all going to be dead because of the war. But your hope is kind of sometime after your game's over in the future, in our imaginary future, right after the game, that you've recorded all the DNA so that if technology ever gets to the point, we can bring them back to life and we can bring good old Muhammad Harris back to life so that he can reunite with his family, his loved ones, his kids, whatever. And that's kind of the idea of Lifesaver, and that's where I want to take this. But for right now, you can pick him up with a simple soul shard and then, again, progress to the next level and go to your upgrade room, where eventually, here soon, you're going to be able to buy some power-ups because you're going to have silicon, copper, and iron. And if you have enough of it, you'll be able to come here. And much like these things here, the costs will be random every time you come up here. So maybe you'll come up here and it'll bring up a window and it'll have a list of what you can craft with, 3 copper and 2 iron and whatever, 4 silicon or whatever. And those costs might change every time you come into this room, every level. So like, oh wow, one time you'll be like, man, I thought, the fireball isn't really worth it right now, but then maybe a couple levels later, you'll have more components, and you'll be like, wow, the fireball doesn't cost as much to build, so you can build it. But I want to know your ideas if you're watching this video. If you guys have any other ideas for a Lifesaver, be sure and drop it in the comments below or on my forums for the game, which you'll also find a link to this game down below. But I do want to go and thank you for watching, guys. I have to get to work. But this is my second devlog for Lifesaver, a game that's already out on Steam now. If it looks fun to you, I think it's pretty fun. Whether you play with the controller, it does have controller support, or you can play with a mouse and keyboard. In either way, I think it's just a load of fun. Mainly just because it's so damn chaotic, and you're just trying to score as many points as you can right now to see, what level can you advance to, and how far can you get. How big of a score can you get right now? If you do buy the game, definitely be sure and, post a screenshot of your final score or whatever, either on my Discord or maybe on the Steam page, where you can put screenshots and post your score and let us know what you scored. So this is Lifesaver, guys. Definitely a very chaotic twin-stick shooter, if you would, my first twin-stick shooter. Early in development, and I have a lot of plans for making this game even deeper and more crazy. I'll also be adding more enemies and stuff like that, as well as a bunch of power-ups. And like I said, these dead will not be able to be revived in the game. Instead, your goal will be to build hard drives and store all their DNA on hard drives before you lose your life. Because if you fail to store every dead person's, DNA in a hard drive, you're ultimately going to fail your mission, because that's what you're trying to do as a Lifesaver, is save their lives on hard drives. This has been Zaxxon09. Be sure to tell me what you guys think of my ideas and what you're seeing so far of the early build of Lifesaver. I would love to know. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.